that shit.
Listen up closely, let the games begin. Top pick sleepers every week I spin. The FF universe here to help you win. The fantasy football universe.
Hey, welcome in. The video was not playing in the original, so I wasn't sure when we were going live, but we're here. Week 9 waiver wire ads. Talking Impact NFL news because holy balls, there was a lot of Impact NFL news today. So this is not just a waiver wire show. This is all-encompassing chaos. Just happened today and yesterday. The league has shifted. Players have moved. Things are happening. As you can tell, frantic because that's the NFL right now. We have all sorts of them. It is myself. Yeah. Justin Bowler, aka GM105, with my co-host, Jeremy Schulman, FF_Rebel. If you are not following, follow him on Twitter. It is a fun Twitter. Do it now. We need more followers. Make it happen.
Yeah.
How you doing today, Jim?
Look, I'm loving life. We got the New England Patriots winning games, which is bad, crushing the Jets' playoffs hopes, which is good. And then, of course, the New York Yankees losing. Surprise, surprise, I am a Yankee fan from New York. This is a whole nother story. We can get in a whole different time. But it's been a really good run the last lifetime for me for my teams. We're taking some hits right now. It's okay, but we're talking football, and so we're happy to talk all about everything like Drake May and everything you should do on the waiver wire, plus everything that's happening with teams that are actually competing for something this year as well.
And teams that are just saying, we don't know what we're doing. We're a team.
Well, that's true.
We have no management. We have no ownership. We suck.
Oh, Colts.
So I apologize to Panthers fans because your wide receiver core is Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker. Guys, I don't even want to talk about us out of that because they're not very good. But it's fun. It's fun.
Adam Thielen might be coming back soon.
If he can get his old ass up again and get healthy, who knows? Let's jump into this Diontae trade because the Ravens getting him for peanuts. It's basically a 5th and a 6th round swap. There is some like compensation picks in the middle, so it's not just like a 2-pick swap. Potentially, it could be like a 10 or 15 pick swap. But still, it's really nothing. Like you're eating $3 million in cap to save for them. That's about it. That's really the only benefit for them. And what the Ravens get what they've been lacking: an outside winner who can consistently win in man and also zone 2, but he beats man like really well. So Diontae is just like a really good addition to that room. I was reading some stuff where Rashad Bateman's the worst run blocker of the wide receiver room, so he probably takes the biggest hit, which makes the most sense, right? And then you have Zay Flowers. Potential line up more slot. Mark Andrews doing his thing. But like we were talking about off screen, it's Lamar to the freaking moon. Like he's already QB1, right? I don't know how much higher you can go than QB1. You just go to God tier of quarterbacks. Like that's how that works out. We might be looking at like peak where Lamar was at, like was that 2019, 2018 when he was like 28 points a game or something like that. We could be pushing into that. Like because the Ravens pass defense sucks, by the way. That's what we're talking about.
Yes, it's so bad. So bad. But let's talk about Lamar for a quick second. So he's got Diontae. We know he already has Zay Flowers. If there's an injury, they got Rashad Bateman, who's been coming on, Mark Andrews, who's been coming on. So all of the weapons in the passing game. Obviously, all of these guys take a little bit of a hit. It's a volume issue, but it's always been a volume issue. Because we've seen Isaiah Likely get involved. There was a game where Charlie Kolar, if that's even his first name, got involved as well. So there's lots of things that are happening in Baltimore. We have the target share that's spread out. That's why we like Lamar as opposed to everyone else. I would bet on Mark Andrews over everyone else simply because of the fact that he's playing a different position at tight end. So he can give you some of those spike weeks where in a position where it's still up in the air. With Diontae, it's a good move for him to get out of there. It's a good NFL move. But this defense is really good. I think Derrick Henry stays neutral. I don't think he takes a hit at all because Lamar can get there and has been getting there and will continue to get there early. And then they can rely on Derrick Henry late. Lamar to the moon, Derrick Henry net neutral, everyone else a slight tick down, but I'm betting on Andrews over the rest of these guys.
Yeah, it's like if you look at his like pass attempts and completions, it's basically in line with his career rate. He's at 29. He's been between 31 and 28 the past 3 years. Like his pass rates have always been there. So he's kind of in that same range. It's just the efficiency this season. He's at 7% touchdown rate, which is his highest since his MVP season 2019 at 9%. His average air yards, he's throwing the ball deeper downfield. This is probably the best we've seen like Lamar play football overall.
Oh, yes.
He's a much better passer than he was back in 2019. Like, he's much more advanced. So he's still giving you all the rushing. He's on pace for like 1,300 rushing yards or something absurd. Yeah. Just like unstoppable. So yeah, it seems like this is the runway for Lamar to just take the MVP and run with it for the third time. So that'll be fun. I think it comes down to playoffs, right? If they can do it in the playoffs or not. Like, the Chiefs are still there. Their defense is incredible. That's always an issue. They have Buffalo's number, but yeah, like, this offense is going to be great. I think, to your point on Diontae, the numbers, volume takes a hit, but the efficiency bounces back. So it kind of, evens out, right? Where it's going to be more like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 games. Probably won't give me peak wide receiver 1 games. Like, I don't think that's happening, but he's a guy you can
No. But we have to do a quick RIP to Zay Flowers' elite volume. Over the last month, 12, 9, 1, oddly, and 12 targets for Zay Flowers. He was converting that into over 100 yards in 3 of those 4 games. He didn't find the end zone. He wasn't finding the end zone, which kind of keeps his ceiling limited. At the same time, that volume is going to come down. So it really hurts Zay. In your flex, that's a shame. You're still going to fire these guys up, but this is kind of a situation where we're seeing it in New York, obviously a different sort of setup for them, but Adams comes in, and then you see kind of the fluctuations go on. Garrett Wilson got off last week. Will it be a Devontae Adams week? It's highly possible, and I think we're going to have those same sort of discussions here. Is it a Zay week? Is it a Diontae week? I don't think we're going to know, but these guys are flexes now. So.
Yeah, I think the one thing that Andrew specifically needs is he desperately needs to run all of the routes. If he's not hitting that 80% threshold, he's already been like a touchdown dependent tight end because he's been running hot on touchdowns. So he could be a valuable tight end just doing the touchdown thing. But if we want him to be that, I don't think elite tight end 1's in the scenario for Andrews. It's similar to like Kittle's situation in San Francisco. Talented players across the board, really good running back. Like, all that's very similar. The offense is set up, really good offensive line, all of that stuff. It's just up and down with these guys, and we're going to see that. And I think that's going to hit Andrews too as well. But the offensive boost, it's just there's going to be more touchdowns and more scoring opportunities. Yeah, so it's like good and bad. It's just like we talk about. It's Lamar's the biggest winner. Like, it's really hard to like actively describe how good this is for Lamar because he gets another valuable, consistent winner.
Yeah, and in Carolina, I've been holding on to Andy Dalton as like QB3, QB4 in a lot of Superflex leagues. That dream is over. I am just dropping Andy Dalton immediately. The fact that Adam Thielen is so up and down, the fact that these pass catchers are not established, the fact that Jonathan Brooks is going to be coming back, I think this could be a situation where they rely heavily on the run or those backs. Dalton is good enough to get there, but you're just not going to know when. And I think the same thing is true of Leggett, of Coker, who we saw pop off a little bit last week. So yeah, other than the backs here, I don't really want to trust anyone. I don't know how you're feeling about it, but yeah, Carolina's just a dumpster fire and we see it weekly at this point.
Yeah, I think Coker becomes a lot more interesting because by the way, he has a PFF receiving grade of 80 plus. He's 3rd in the NFL among wide receivers. That's really, really good. Now, it took till week 4 for him to get on the field. Obviously, he's a UDFA. Like, those guys have to earn everything. You're not just going to be gifted. Mm-hmm. So him showing out with Diontae out, like, I'm a little bit bullish on him rest of the season. I think like he's my priority waiver wire add in the bottom tier wide receivers because he gets the runway to run all the routes alongside Leggett. Like, those 2 guys are going to be on the field a lot. Now, his target earning rate's not great, but like there's minimal competition in there. So like I think he should be added in deeper leagues. You see what you have, and even in dynasty leagues, I think he was available in something like 30% in dynasty leagues. If you can get your hands on him in dynasty, go spend all your fab to get him because it's really hard in these dynasty leagues to get anybody off of waivers, right? So, like, I think he's a really good player to pick up. He still has to hit, but the profile is there. He's a bigger body wide receiver who's athletic. Dave Canales was talking about in the offseason where he's talking about he loves the athleticism, love his separation ability, and how he can stem the top of routes. So I think he's a good young NFL wide receiver. So I think you should pick him up. Like, the upside is maybe wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4. Like, I just think he's someone we should monitor. So if he's available in deeper leagues, I think you should definitely pick him up to see how it goes.
Coker or Parker Washington for you?
Coker. Like, Parker Washington's not good. Like, I was just afraid. Like, he's not a target earner, like, at all. So if you want to play the Parker Washington thing this week, I really don't want to, man. Like, I get it, he's going to be running routes, but I think it's Evan Ingram really is the guy that is really the only guy I want to start this week with them. I'll at least do Coker. I just don't think Washington's good, man. It's really hard. Like we put these wide receivers in situations on like running backs, they don't automatically earn the targets, right? Because it's not a volume issue. So we'll see. I just don't trust Parker Washington at all. That's my bigger issue.
I've got one more question in the same vein that could actually segue us into the next story. Would you go Coker or Xavier Hutchinson or John Mechie if that's your flavor?
Well, yeah, they tried the Hutchinson thing. It's clearly not working there. Yeah. Like the bigger issue is Houston is like similar to Carolina. The pass rush, the pressure and pass rush is like over 50% last week. Like it was Indianapolis and they got bum rushed all day. Like Stroud was consistently under pressure. So I think outside of Tank Dell, like Dalton Schultz is probably the two guys there. And then it's like, and unfortunately in Carolina, Jalen Sanders took a step back last week. So it's kind of like, all right, I'm not as bullish on him, unfortunately. So like we'll see. But yeah, I'm willing to see a guy I know is going to be running all the routes. That's Coker. Like we know he's going to be field a lot running all the routes. I get it. It's a really ugly offense, but like those guys could still produce. Like we see wide receivers all the time in bad situations. At least put up numbers. So yeah, I'm gonna go for Coker over those bottom tier guys personally. Like I'm looking at the waiver article right now. I gotta like stammer for a second to get through it. But yeah, Parker Washington was a name to add to if like you want to get him. Like you can give him a shot, right? It's kind of just
yeah, you can. I mean, the reason we're talking about Hutchinson and Mechie is Stefon Diggs is now confirmed out for the season with an ACL tear that he tore on Sunday. So that's just a huge blow to your fantasy lineups. He was an awesome wide receiver too. Plugged and locked into your lineups, especially with Nico out. But even before Nico went out, he was looking good. This just really hurts your Diggs bag. I mean, it's Nico to the moon when he comes back. But CJ Stroud is down bad. Tank Dell as the number one. He hasn't really been effective as the number two or even the number three. I don't know if he's not getting open. I'm not sure what the hell the issue is, if there's still an injury, lingering, which is what we're all kind of assuming.
Mm-hmm.
But now as the one, I just think he's going to get locked down, and it might be next year until we see the Tank Dell of old. So it's Nico to the moon and Joe Mixon to the moon, and I think nobody else.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like I'm curious to see how Dell lines up if they move him around the field a little bit more, because like let's be real, he's their only good pass catcher, and he has struggled. Like his PFF receiving grade is only 66 this year. Like he's clearly not the same guy at this point in time. He is progressing a little bit better, but I'm like looking at his snaps overall. He's basically just been outside. They're clearly missing those deep shots, and I think this gets them the pressure. Stroud just doesn't have time, like the time to do those deep shots that they hit last year with Dell. That's my bigger issue with that. So like, hopefully it gets better. I mean, he ran 7 slot snaps last week. Like he's basically non-existent in the slot, so it's just kind of hard. Ideally, I want to do it, but and like Best Ball here calls it like tight end premium shoot him up. Yes, because Schultz is what we call a decent NFL tight end.
Yeah.
So in situations like we see this with Cade Otton, right? Like if you're a tight end who could run routes and you don't have to be a high end targeter, but you can at least earn targets to a degree. We've seen this previously with Schultz when guys would go out with injuries. Schultz was valuable. His usage is still really good. So yeah, I'm gonna be more bullish on Schultz than I am like the other complimentary pass catchers because they need to figure out who that's gonna be. Like they're still trying to do it with Robert Woods and all those guys. Just it's not good. So it's kind of like, yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, maybe it's a protection issue for CJ Stroud, but Dalton Schultz has seen over the last month a significant increase, pretty much doubled target production from weeks 1 to 4 now to weeks 5 to 8. He's received 6, 8, 2, and 6 targets over the last 4 weeks. He's done absolutely nothing with them. He's not scored. He's not scored once this year. He hasn't finished above tight end 19 this season. And especially and he didn't even finish tight end 19 in the last 4 weeks that I just mentioned. His targets have gone up. So he's not doing anything with them. Look, Diggs is out now. So there is that hole that exists for someone to earn targets. Can Schultz do that? Yes. Is he facing defenses where he should be able to do that? Sure. Over the next month, it's maybe a little bit hairy, but it lightens up here and there. I just can't. I can't. He hasn't done it yet this year. We all know he's relatively a high-end jag. So I would prefer to take the shot on Xavier Hutchinson because I know they like him. I know he's going to be out there running routes versus any of these other guys. I'm praying for Nico to come back and hopefully Tank is resurrected. But Dalton Schultz for me, no way.
Yeah, like the issue with Hutchinson is his targets. He has, what is it? He has 7 targets the last 4 weeks. So like that's the bigger problem with him. Like he has to show he can earn it. And at least they know what they have with Schultz. Like that's kind of the thing. Like they know what they have. we're kind of projecting with Hutchinson. I liked him coming out of Iowa State, but he clearly just hasn't shown it. So, yeah, like we're taking stabs in the dark. I think the floor is much higher with Schultz. You know what you're getting. We're not saying he's going to be like the George Kittle or Cade Otton. We're
getting tight end 20, Jesse. You're getting tight end.
I know. It's not good. It's not good. But
you don't want that, yeah.
This is what we were talking about earlier in the week. It's Joe Mixon's the one piece that's doing very well in that offense. Yeah. Once Nico went down, everyone else, and Diggs to a point, but Diggs is gone too now. So it's like we're waiting on Tank Dell. Like we need Tank Dell to take a step forward. If he does not take a step forward, I don't know who it's going to be in that offense because those wide receivers just aren't that good, and that's the problem. So it's like not great. But yeah, like as he talked about with Mechie, like you can take the shot, you can add them if like they're going to be they're in that bottom tier of like wide receiver roster because like why are you rostering these guys in regular leagues, right? Because they're not getting targets and slots. It's like give them a shot. So like we'll see if you're in these really deep leagues, like I'm adding these guys. Now I'm not expecting them to produce because Nico's still a few weeks away from what we're hearing. So we're gonna have this runway for Schultz and these wide receivers. So you definitely have to boost Schultz up and these guys up. It's just if I'm picking between them, I'm definitely going Schultz because tight end like. To your point, tight end does get really bad really fast. Where we get like past tight end 10 and we get into like the Hunter Henry range from there on in, it's like, oh gosh, you're just hoping, right? So yeah. It's not good, man. It's just not good.
It is not good.
What's your thought process with Jacksonville and the injury to Christian Kirk? How do you see that like that offense shaking out? Because like Brian Thomas Jr. is probably out this week. They literally have no one outside of Evan Ingram right now. Like we're talking about Parker Washington and all these guys, right? It's just like it's rough.
Yeah, I'll spend money on Parker Washington. I'm not going to spend a ton. I think he's a kind of a cheap get off waivers, like 5% of fab. If you feel so inclined, you could probably do less and likely grab him. And I think he's sneaky because if BTJ is out, we know Kirk is done for the year. BTJ is then out. The only really weapon that they have there then is Evan Ingram, right? There's Gabe Davis if he's back and healthy. I would not call Gabe Davis a weapon. He exists. he's out there. He's the sacrificial X, as we say. Just run it down the field, do what you got to do, big body, whatever. He'll occasionally get some targets. He's best ball guy, great. But yeah, I think Parker Washington has the chance to earn targets. He's done it before. Is he a target earner? No. But does he have a chance to earn targets if Evan Ingram is getting loose? If I don't know what the status of Travis Etienne is. But if Travis Etienne is back, that could open some things up in the middle of the field because you have to, honor him underneath in the pass catching role. The bigger problem is this offense is atrocious. Trevor Lawrence, I think, has actually looked better in recent weeks, despite whatever the hell is going on in this offense with these weapons. So, yeah, I'll take the shot on Parker Washington. But, yeah, if you can get BTJ because of the injury or whatever at a discount, I mean, just go do that instead.
Yeah, like if you need a tight end in like the next couple of weeks, if it's Ingram. Yeah, to your point with like Gabe Davis, I'll do Gabe Davis over Parker Washington because like I know Gabe Davis is going to get targets, and I know it's gross. It's the more like you're dealing with the disappointment. Parker Washington has 30 career targets through 2 seasons. He's played 17 games. He has 30 career targets. It's tough.
Probably right.
Question for you. You trade Diontae for DJ Moore? Because I think I
am. Yep. Yeah, because DJ Moore has the potential to get touchdowns, right? That's the difference here. I think the issue is Chicago's schedule gets incredibly more difficult, but not this week. Diontae is interesting because I think he'll see the volume equivalent to DJ Moore, probably even more than DJ Moore. But George Pickens is scoring the touchdowns and Pat Freiermuth there if they're going through the air. DJ Moore, yeah.
You mean Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews?
Oh, yeah, because he should have gone to Pittsburgh, which is why Baltimore made the deal in the first place, right? They don't want Diontae going back home. It's even worse. Yeah, DJ Moore.
Like, what's interesting is like he led NFL wide receivers in end zone usage and like targets. Like that was Diontae through the first couple of weeks this year.
Yes,
that's what I want to see with this offense. We don't know how the end zone is going to go. It's going to go Mark Andrews. He's going to be involved there. The tight ends play a role in the end zone. They always do. I'm curious to see how they structure the offense from the 20 inside with Zay Flowers and Diontae. Who gets those targets? Because then it gets really interesting. Because if you're taking those red zone targets away from Zay, that hurts him a lot. And if Diontae doesn't get them, they both become like floor plays more so than ceiling plays. So we'll see. But that offense is so good, man. Like you know what it's going to produce. Just points and yards all across the board.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got it. Like if you have the patience with DJ Moore, but like we saw this last week, it was a dream matchup. Their offense could do anything. They had like 33 passing yards in the third quarter or something. Like
We have to stop discounting what Washington is doing on defense, and specifically Dan Quinn. And I'm guilty of it myself. Early in the season, they looked atrocious. They didn't have it together. Dan Quinn in his first season, they have put it together. Dante Fowler is a thing now. He's consistently getting to the quarterback. They're creating and generating a pass rush. They're holding up on the back end. They've looked really good against quarterbacks and wide receivers recently. They haven't been great, but they've been way better than advertised, like league average. So when you're looking at teams going against Washington, yes, they limited DJ Moore, but I don't think that's a slight on DJ Moore. I think we're going to see more bounce back against Arizona and then potentially New England because New England only has one guy who can cover anybody. But then the schedule tightens up: Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, San Francisco, Minnesota, Detroit again. If you're saying that the playoff schedule is good, I think it's only Seattle in week 17, which is fantasy championship week. Great. But Detroit's been a lot better against the pass in recent weeks. If they get a pass rusher, which everyone seems to be hinting at, to replace Aiden Hutchinson, this defense is going to be right back where it belongs. And then Minnesota, they haven't looked great lately, but I still trust Minnesota to be able to figure out how to cover and deal with, Caleb Williams, especially as division rivals. Yeah,
it's been rough. And the issue with Detroit is similar to Baltimore. It's the pass defense.
Yes.
It's gotten better, but like in Washington, to your point, they're 24th in EPA against the pass. It was 32nd earlier in the season. It has gotten better.
It was terrible.
It's gotten better. It's still not great. It's like, it's like middle of the road-ish range. But this helps when you play bad offense sometimes, and Chicago can very much fall into that category with Waldron. They can be a bad offense. Neither one of those teams were really productive in that game. Like Washington figured it out, but it was, 15-12 game before that Hail Mary? Like they were struggling to score in that game. So we'll see. Your question on Dearness Johnson and waivers. Yeah, like I'll pick him up if Etienne's out. Like I don't mind it. It's when you're that deep. And this is really like the whole thing with Bigsby. The issue is I don't expect Jacksonville to be winning this game. Like I do not expect Jacksonville to be winning this game, which means, and the receivers are out, your running back is going to earn some more targets. So I'm fine doing the Dearness Johnson in really deep leagues. Obviously not in like leagues where you have guys that are like big names. But if we're talking in like the 0-25% range, like you can kind of get by. Similar to Justice Hill in the right matchup, he can give you double-digit PPR points. That's all you're really looking for from these guys. So I'd be fine doing that if you're desperate and you're looking in the range of like, am I going to play a freaking like Antonio Gibson or one of those guys? I'll take Dearness Johnson because he can, you know what I mean?
Agree.
So if we're like at the outside the top 36 running backs, I'll take a shot on him. We did talk about Parker Washington. I'm a lot less bullish on Parker Washington than Jarius. He's just not a good NFL wide receiver is the way I classify him. So I have a hard time believing in these guys. Like why I'm willing to take the shot on Jalen Coker is because he showed me that he's good early in his career. So I'm willing to buy into that even though the offense is worse and everything around him is worse. You have these high variance games where it goes up and down. This is what Diontae was going through, right? Up, down. It's going to be a roller coaster, but if you hit variance right, you can strike it gold. I just wonder what the ceiling is with these, like a Parker Washington type. But like we saw Noah Brown last year in this situation, absolutely ball out back-to-back games with like Houston, right? Was CJ Stroud? Yep. Obviously, I think Noah Brown's a little better wide receiver, but we'll see. Like the opportunity is there, so like you should definitely add these guys off the waivers if they're available. Because we're deep in the season. If you need production for the short term, like I'm fine pulling the string on these guys. I think they could be impactful for you. So like, I think it's good.
Real quick on Dearness Johnson. He's gotten the opportunity over the last few weeks with Travis Etienne out. I know they were up, not against Chicago, but they were up against New England. They had opportunities against Green Bay as well. So Tank was involved and Dearness was not so much. But when he was involved, he's just 4 yards a carry per clip, averaging 3 targets a game. I just don't think that makes much of a difference. I want a swing on more of an upside. You know what Dearness Johnson is. I get it. You need points at running back, which is a disaster. I just think they're available elsewhere. I mean, who would you rather have, Dearness Johnson or Eric Gray, with the potential that Tyrone Tracy misses? I'm going to take the shot on Gray because Dearness is not going to score a touchdown unless he gets lucky on a passing play.
Yeah, it's kind of similar for both of those guys. Like that's the range of running back. Like I just want guys with the opportunity to get on the field. And Eric Gray, it's more uncertainty. Like Tyrone Tracy could still clear. So if Tyrone Tracy is listed out, then Eric Gray becomes a lot more interesting to me. So like I'm kind of just waiting to find out. I expect him to be out. He hasn't been classified yet. So that's where I'm at. It's just ugly. Man, we try. We're trying our best every day. It's rough right now. Like there's a lot of we haven't even talked about Richardson getting benched. Like we need to talk about that as well too.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we'll hit this one. Yeah. Who's the last guy? Is that Coleman? Colleen?
Colleen. You know what? Colleen might have a better week than the rest of them.
Well,
I don't know.
I'm playing Downs. Like with Joe Flacco, I'm playing Josh Downs. Like I'm playing Downs, and I'm definitely doing Dell over Tolbert. So like my rankings are going to have Downs and Dell really close together. I haven't decided based on the matchup which one's going to go where, but I like Downs a lot with Flacco. We've seen him; he's very like a high target earner. He could be beneficial.
Oh, yeah,
Coleman's good too.
Yeah,
I have not finalized my rankings yet, so I'm kind of doing this on the fly. I need to see who they're playing, and we get into this. So yeah, like I'm a little bit behind with it, but they're playing Miami. Yeah, like it's not a bad matchup. Their pass defense has not been bad. So, and then Downs gets Minnesota. I'll probably just take Tank because I think they're gonna move Tank around the field, and I don't think Sauce is gonna travel with him. Is my whole thought, but maybe he does. So, my early non all work put in on these guys. I would say Tank, Downs, Coleman, and then Tolbert. That's how I would have it right now.
Atlanta struggled against the pass last week. Like, was it Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa torched them.
Yeah, and so that makes sense with Baker Mayfield and the fact that he's playing out of his mind and getting time. But they did it with literally no wide receivers, right? So that's what's super interesting to me. Atlanta has the potential to be beaten, and Tolbert is that guy who should just be wide open if they're putting name is failing me, Terrell? AJ Terrell in Atlanta?
Yeah, for Falcons. Yeah.
On CeeDee Lamb, they're going to have to double CD Ferguson. They're going to have to pay attention to him. I think Tolbert can get loose in this game. That said, I want to start Downs with Flacco over him. I want to start Coleman over him. So I would prefer those two and Tank. Start somebody else this week.
So where it gets interesting with Downs is like Minnesota's a little vulnerable in the slot, and that's where Downs could have his day. So like, I need to dive into it a little bit more, but like I want to play both Downs. I want to play Dell. I want to play Coleman. Actually, Tolbert's the one I'm lead. Like Tolbert is the guy in a really good situation. Has not shown us enough yet. It's been very up or down. So it's like I prefer the other guys. Coleman's looking great, man. Like they torched the Seahawks. He was really beneficial. I don't know why Amari Cooper basically did nothing in that game. I need to like figure out what was the reason for that. But Coleman looks good. He's a young wide receiver. Like you like those.
Yep. And Tyler, we hit this earlier with Diggs out for the year. It's an ACL. And we know Nico is going to take another week or two for sure. Mm-hmm. Dell just hasn't been doing it. And, we're all assuming it's still recovering from the gunshot, from the broken leg. We don't know what it is with Tank Dell. It could be one of those situations where he takes the entire season just to get right, and he comes back next season with a full off season. But yeah, it's really difficult for Dell right now. So for me, I'm looking elsewhere. I do not mind pivoting for a Downs with Flacco or a Coleman this week instead of.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. This is okay. This is like, I am very surprised Lad McConkey's even available in any leagues.
Oh, go get Lad.
What I want is all three of these guys on the roster. I think like Tillman's the more of the ceiling shot. I think Coleman's more of a floor play. Like in that offense, he's a lot safer. But like with Jameis, the problem is they're gonna have some bad matchups coming up where it's gonna be up or down. I don't think Tillman's gonna be getting 12 or 15 targets. I guess happening, right? So we'll see. I'm not through the moon bullish on Tillman, but these guys, I don't know why all these guys are available. It must be a really shallow league, would be my guess. That would be my assumption, right?
Yeah, and I'm a sell Tillman at all costs. Like, look, he could have a decent game against the Chargers, but his schedule is brutal. I was guessing the other day that it was the worst schedule for fantasy wide receivers. I heard it this morning on Fantasy Pros that it is the worst schedule for wide receivers going forward. You have to go get Lad well over Cedric Tillman. And I would even go Coleman over Tillman. I just think he's going to be some boom bust, and he's going to disappoint you more weeks than not. So give me Coleman, and certainly give me Lad over him.
The interesting thing with Tillman is he's not he hasn't earned the most targets. Like that's been Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy. They've all been kind of in that similar range. David Njoku. The thing that puts Tillman over the top of the list is he's getting all the air yards. He's getting like 40% of the air yards in those games.
For sure.
So he's getting these big boom plays, and that's going to happen. So I think you're right. He's going to be more boom bust. He's like a low end wide receiver 2, more likely wide receiver 3 each week, where he can give you the upside to really have those big weeks, but it's going to be a little bit variance. These matchups are tough. We talked about Baltimore. Their pass defense is atrocious. We just saw what happens when you put Jameis Winston with some capable pass catchers. This is why I'm very bullish against them with Bo Nix this week. The Ravens need to show they can stop defenses. So, like, I'm there with you. Here's an interesting trade. I would much prefer Pickens and Addison.
Oh, yeah.
I would be surprised if someone, like, did you actually
That's what I was gonna say.
accepted? Because this seems like someone
got
incredibly low on Pickens and Addison.
Got sent a trade offer. Yeah, smash.
Yes.
Smash. And I think it's just for George Pickens, right? Look, maybe the overreaction is I don't know what the overreaction is here. I think you're sending Chuba. He's going to be involved the rest of the season. He's probably a many weeks, not every week flex for you, even when Brooks comes back. Tolbert, we don't know what the hell's going on. He's super boom bust. Pickens has been a monster. I mean, 2 touchdowns called back last night. I mean, on penalties, on stupid penalties that had nothing to do with him. I'm changing my tune on this guy. He's going to be a guy you want to plug into your flex spot pretty easily. And then Addison has the potential to come on. I know Hawk is coming back. I know they lost Darisaw, their left tackle. I know Sam Darnold has not looked great lately. The schedule lines up for Minnesota. They're going to be okay. Will Addison be involved? I don't know, but you do this for Pickens.
Yeah, the thing that really helps Pickens is Russell Wilson's his quarterback. And their skill sets line up a lot more than Justin Fields' skill set with him.
Oh, yeah.
He's a downfield. He's always been a good downfield thrower of the ball. Pickens is a downfield artist. Like, this was like DK Metcalf a few weeks ago where they played San Francisco. He was that close to having a monster game. George Pickens was that close to having a monster game last night. You want to trust George Pickens moving forward. He's a good NFL wide receiver. That type of player is just inherently boom bust. We see with DK Metcalf because of their playing downfield, they're doing that. It's just the type of nature they are. But that's the type of guy you want on your team. With shallow benches, I would take the guy that we know is going to be the most involved, has the least amount of target competition. That's McConkey. He's also more than likely the best of that bunch of guys. I think Coleman's really good too. I'm not as bullish on Tillman as far as a talent wise, but like he's proving he's a good NFL wide receiver. So that's what I'm saying. My thought process on Etienne is who trades for him. Is that yes, Jacksonville should trade him, but what contending team needs a running back? There's really no contending teams that need a running back. And Etienne's he's supposed to be this guy who generates chunk plays and explosive. He hasn't been that guy this year, and even last year to a point. He was just very much volume based. So he doesn't give you what he was drafted to give you. He was supposed to be an explosive monster, be able to take plays of the house, do all these things, be a passing game specialist. He's kind of just a volume sponge. And if that's the case, he's fine. He's cheap. If a team wants, I think if an injury happens, that's how he gets traded. He'll fill the spot. He can go to Dallas, but is Dallas even a contender? That's the bigger problem. It's not great. It's not great.
The interesting thing I think we're seeing with running backs, and we don't have a ton of running back injury that I can think of. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is back now. He was out for a few games. Etienne, of course, has been out for a few games. I can't think of any. Pacheco really is the only one I can think of. But running back is now a committee, right? And so when you talk about these all these contending teams, most of them are 2 to 3 running backs deep. We saw Tank Bigsby effortlessly step in and take over the job. We see Blake Corum looking decent behind Kyron Williams, right? There's not a ton of teams, to Jesse's point, that really need that running back depth. Kansas City is really the only one I can think of that could potentially make a play, but they just went out and got a wide receiver. So, I think they're fine with Hunt. If Hunt goes down in the next week or two, maybe, because Carson Steele is not the answer. CEH is probably not the answer, and he'll be back. But yeah, I just don't think he probably goes anywhere. No one wants to pay that premium for anyone, let alone a running back.
Take Addison. I like Wandale, but the offense is just up and down in nature. We saw who they want to feature in that offense. It's Tyrone Tracy when he's healthy, and it's Malik Neighbors. Those are the 2 guys they want to feature the offense. Wandale can give you a lot of volume in certain matchups, but they absolutely just destroyed Pittsburgh up front, which was the biggest surprise of that game last night. Tyrone Tracy was carving them up on the ground, which I didn't expect, but I love Tyrone Tracy, so I was happy to see it. So for me, it's Addison. I would take him over Wandale. Are you there with me or no?
It's so close. Wandale's still getting the targets, which is interesting, but he's just not converting them. He had one game where he got in the end zone. That's because Neighbors was out. So no, probably Addison. He's more interesting to that offense, and we'll see. Look, if Aaron Jones goes down, if he's got that contingent upside we like. If Justin Jefferson goes down, he's got a shot. I will say just to Tyler, we didn't see the read question. I still don't see the read question, so please post that again if you can.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was wondering what the read question is. So yeah, if you post it, we'll answer it. So this show is kind of veering off of waiver wire. We're just doing a lot of random stuff. It is what it is. This is chaos. This is NFL Week 9. They set the tone for the week. We're gonna join. All right. So we have a team question. It's Devonta Smith, DJ Moore, Jameson Williams, Rome Odunze, Tolbert. That wide receiver core looks good, but you need an alpha in that wide receiver core.
Agree.
Saquon, Pacheco, Mostert, Tracy, Javonte, Ramondre. Yes. Yes. Javonte and DJ Moore I'm doing that deal for Amon-Ra right now because your team needs that. You have the wide receiver depth. Smash that. Do that because Amon-Ra is by far the best asset in this deal. Like I get people like Javonte, but he's cap ceiling, and you have enough running backs to get by without him. You still have Pacheco, you still have Saquon, you still have Tracy, Mostert. Like this is the ideal move you make to get an elite piece. So 100%. This works great for you. I love this. Yes to Ramondre. I'd switch any one of those guys. I'll send Tracy. I'll send Mostert. I will send any one of those. I mean, heck, I'd even send Pacheco. Because that injury, I don't know if he's coming back. Like, I just love Amon-Ra. Like, maybe it's no, you're not overpaying.
A little bit value wise, but like from what you're getting and the way your team is structured, it doesn't matter. It's not an overpay because you win in terms of the production that's going to exist on your roster. And what you need to do right now is on contending rosters, 4-4, you're contending, you're in the thick of it. You want to be able to build up pieces. I think it's the right move.
Yes. Like the in redraft, those high end pieces are inherently more valuable because the impact they have on your starting lineups. It just gets into war and all that stuff. Like if you have, for instance, Lamar Jackson on your team, he is crushing the competition. Amon-Ra gives you that chance. You could try for lower tier wide receivers, but dude, I always, when I want to go for these impact guys, go high and then go work your way down. Because you can always go for the high guys at the same time, work your way down. So go down the list of guys you like, and then you start narrowing down your list. But yeah, I would do the Amon-Ra deal. Like that's a really good wide receiver game.
DJ Moore's not that guy this year. He's only finished as a wide receiver one once. It was against Carolina. So, he's just he's just as talented. He's just dealing with a rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterbacks do not support multiple options. Mm-hmm. And we see this even in Caleb Williams when he has good games. He's not able to support multiple options, right? It was Keenan Allen 1 week. There was a Cole Kmet week, maybe 2. But it's been DeAndre Swift, and it's working for them right now. So, no, DJ Moore, give him up for Amon-Ra. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, your DJ Moore is scoring less than 4 points per game than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown's the wide receiver 9 points per game. DJ Moore is like wide receiver 30. 31. So you're inherently getting a massive upgrade at your wide receiver position, which you were the one that says you need that because you look at your roster. Yeah, John Smith's really good too. Yeah, man. Like I love that deal for you. I think you're going to be really happy with that towards the end of the year, just because you know what you're getting. And to your point, like rookie quarterbacks, it's tough. It's rare we get Jane Daniels or CJ Stroud last year. That's incredibly rare. Like we don't get that stuff normally. So we hope we're getting from Caleb, but woof. I'm gonna go hire someone's house to take out Shane Aldrin. I can't take it anymore, man. We gotta do something about this. If Love doesn't play, yes, I'm gonna be lower on Reed where you could play the other guys over him. I'd be fine playing Downs over Reed in that scenario because he gets the quarterback upgrade. So yeah, if you have no Jordan Love, I really don't want to play a pass catcher in Green Bay. It's far too treacherous.
100%.
Josh Jacobs, and you could. I'll say you could play Malik Willis this week though. He's going to run a lot, and in his games, he's had over 20 fantasy points. Like, I think Malik Willis can get by for the team guys that he plays.
I'm going to have to play Malik Willis a lot this week because I have a lot of Jordan Love. So
you could do worse. You could do worse than play Malik Willis.
That's what it is.
Let's see. I mean, if you have Amon-Ra, then you're going to be playing.
Hang on, I got it.
Yeah,
there you go.
You're going to play Smitty, and then you either reflect Odunze because Jamie Williams is still out. I mean, Tracy's probably out. Depends who you trade from that running back room, but you can flex Mostert. Because you have Saquon, you have Checo's not back, so you can play Mostert.
Yeah. Listen, you're 4-4, right? Your depth isn't getting you anywhere. So go ahead and try and hit it big on the wire. Get a stud who had 1 down game. He's going to be fine. 52 points and on the scoreboard and 6 fantasy points, maybe 8. Because he scored fantasy points on the fantasy scoreboard isn't the norm. So it's going to be okay.
So you're trading DJ Moore, Javonte, and Jameson Williams, and you're getting back Amon-Ra, and who's the other guy that you're getting back?
I think that's it.
Oh yeah, like that's fine. Like you're trading a lot of supplemental pieces that are replaceable. Is the way I phrase it. So like,
yeah,
it hurts your depth, but like what Jeremy's talking about is you could find guys on the waiver wire. Like we talk about, go pick up Jalen Coker. He could be a flex play for you. Like there's ways to kind of like hedge that point loss with like guys on your bench. They don't have the name cachet, but they can give you double-digit points in PPR leagues. They can give you, like 10 points, which is all you really need out of your flex if you have the high-end producers producing. Because in most like redraft leagues, you're looking for 100 points a week. Like that usually gets it done for you. So if you have Amon-Ra put up like 20 a week, which doesn't always happen, but it's close to his raise, then yeah. So yeah, like just do the deal. Like I think you'll be very happy. If I turn that deal down and then I'd be like, I would regret it a month later. I'd be like, oh, I could have got Amon-Ra. I'd be like, And yeah. And on the plus side, when Amon-Ra goes off, somebody might come for him and you could sell him for more to somebody else too. Like there is that as well too. So like he has an upside. All right, let's
we get it. We appreciate you, man.
Let's talk about some of these like waiver wire options because otherwise we got it. But okay, first let's hit the Flacco news a little bit. Shame on you, Colts. Shame on you for doing this, for drafting a guy with 10 career starts. And you're like, you know what? You know the craziest thing? Him and Caleb Williams through 10 career starts have the exact same EPA. It's like EPA for dropback. It's nuts. He's in like the Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence range, all these guys. It's just funny, but yeah, I could go on to watch for this for a long time.
Shame on them. Shame on us, the fantasy community, for buying into a guy. And I'm guilty of it too. I was hesitant at first. I finally bought in, and now this is what we're left with. It happens. Look, in redraft, I'm totally dropping him. He could, in 1 QB leagues, he could come back. In, super flex leagues, it's a conversation. In Dynasty, you have to hold him. You can't sell him for peanuts right now. This is a Trey Lance situation where you just hope he comes back and he Baker Mayfield's instead of or Justin Fields instead of just Trey Lance's and just is off into oblivion. We don't know if that's going to happen. One thing that's on our side is Joe Flacco's age is father time because Joe Flacco's 39 years old. He cannot keep this up. He can certainly keep it up this year. But the goal would be for Anthony Richardson to, be able to have a productive NFL career. The coaches came out and said as much in a press conference. They're pumping the brakes a little bit and they're saying, okay, like we're not done with Anthony Richardson. We're still working. Maybe he can learn. And this is, I think, the right move, even though it's been totally mismanaged from the fact that, they went out and you got somebody in Joe Flacco who has zero skill set related to what Anthony Richardson does. I mean, you're much better off going out and paying, top dollar for, why can't I think of his name? Punctured ribs with the Chargers with the injection.
What is his name? He's a backup right now.
Yeah, he's in the Jets, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I can't remember his name.
Like, we know who we're talking about. But multi-year starter and has always looked good when he's been Buffalo starter for years, has always looked good when, pushed into starter action. And that's really what they needed to do is him be with the name. Yeah, Tyrone Taylor. Sorry, double T. But that's what they really need to do. They need to go out and get a Tyrod Taylor type to kind of help Anthony Richardson along. Instead, they went out and got Joe Flacco. Why? Why do you do this? So that's the mismanagement situation here, and it's just sad. But as far as Joe Flacco is concerned, it's wheels up for everybody on the Colts offense. So
yeah,
so it works for us.
Great for us fantasy managers. I will say that everyone's very happy. By the way, this helps Jonathan Taylor get more volume in the offense, so that's even better because he was getting capped from a volume perspective from Anthony Richardson. That's not happening. Even freaking Michael Pittman, who by the way was abysmal in that game last week. Yeah. Pittman cost him severely, so Pittman's been a massive bust, but he can come back to life. Downs is really good. This gets into the bigger problem with teams taking developmental quarterbacks and not having the mindset and time to develop them accurately. They're not giving them the window. And this more gets into guys with their jobs on the line that are going to make the decision to win now. And I think this really is the problem with ownership. If you're going to draft a guy, you have to have like 3 years of patience. Like you have to see that. Because this could happen in Buffalo with Josh Allen, same thing. Or like Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, right? They could have moved on. They decided not to. And look where they are. Obviously, we're not saying that's going to happen with Anthony Richardson, but it's the potential because you're not winning a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. I'm just going to say that.
Agree. What do you think of this? Picking up Knicks or Stafford for AR either. I am right now in a 1 QB league. So again, if it's Superflex a little bit different, but in a 1 QB league, I am dropping Anthony Richardson and I'm risking it all for Bo Nix. But Matthew Stafford is not a good 1B option. Is not a bad 1B option here. I prefer Nix over Stafford, but Stafford looks great and he's got all the healthy weapons. So I don't think you can go here.
Stafford gets my Seahawks, and boy, I think he's gonna light it up. The thing with Nix is I also think he's going to line up the Ravens in the past. So, I like both of these guys. The difference is I think the floor is safer with Nix because he rushes. Baltimore does not give up a lot of rushing yards to scrambling quarterbacks, though. So, I don't think that really is a factor in this game. I have Nix slightly above Stafford, but you can do them. I think you have to play mix and match with these guys each and every week, depending on the matchups. Because Nix gets Kansas City next week. Don't want to play in that matchup. Stafford, I think, has a bad matchup the following week as well. I looked at his schedule. It's not great either. So, it's kind of like you have to stream these guys each and every week, but they can get by. Stafford plays Miami, so I'd rather play Stafford next week. Then he plays New England. It's not a great matchup. So it's kind of up or down. I'll say Nix just because I think the ceiling is higher for him because Stafford inherently has to throw 3 touchdowns every week.
He does.
And that's the problem, right?
Yep.
But
there will be Kyron games. That's all I wanted to say.
Yep.
There will be Kyron games as well where Kyron goes off for 2-3 touchdowns and then Stafford is cooked. Nix does not have that problem. He might with Javonte Williams, but this team is so bad that they need him to throw. I mean, they couldn't even get it going on the ground against Carolina last week. That's how bad it's been. So I know we love Javonte, but it could just be Bo Nix from here on out in the Sean Payton offense that loves to throw the ball anyway.
Yeah, Bo Nix did not record a touchdown 2 weeks ago. He still put up 14 fantasy points because he had 75 yards on the ground. That's the difference. I don't think he's getting 75 yards against Baltimore because they're rush defense, but there's still going to be some element of rushing. There is zero element of rushing with Stafford, which is always the issue. So we both prefer Nix, but we really like Stafford as well. So I would put in a bid for both of those guys. If you can't get Nix, at least you get Stafford, right? And then you'll have a good quarterback. And you can kind of string these guys each and every week. Who are you going on the waiver wire for defense, Jeremy?
If my sleeper was working, I can tell you. I think the easy one is New Orleans Saints. They haven't been great, but they're playing Carolina, so you love that. Now Diontae lists, so you love that. For the Saints, in fact, they're the hottest pickup this week. You got the Commanders against the Giants. The Commanders have been better. We talked about that at the top of the show. The fact that Jaden Daniels, he looks fine, but maybe there's still a little bit of lingering issues because they weren't scoring as they're used to scoring last week against Chicago, who's a better defense. But I think they want to kind of slow down this pace of play, and the New York Giants aren't good. So Commanders are a decent option. Minnesota against Indy. Do you want to? I don't know with Flacco.
Flacco, yeah.
Not interested in that.
They get him to turn it over a little bit, I think. But yeah, there's going to be yards. That's the problem.
The highly vaunted Detroit Lions run defense against Malik Willis-led Green Bay Packers is interesting. It's going to be, the unstoppable force versus the immovable object, but I think it's going to help limit the scoring in that game. So I don't mind Detroit as well. And the Pats against Mason Rudolph in Tennessee. Yeah, I don't mind that one either.
That's the battle of just down bad slog fest going on. The lesser of two evils wins that one. I don't know. Because the Patriots defense, they just traded Uchi, right? So that's another hit to their team. So
it's true.
But yeah, that Titans offense is really, really bad right now. They'll trade DeAndre Hopkins. It's Tony Pollard. Hey, Calvin Ridley, he's going to get 1 million targets. You just got to live with this.
Super sneaky one is the Rams against your Seattle Seahawks. They are in Seattle, but Seattle cannot pass protect at all, sadly. And DK, assuming he's out another game, I don't know if that's been confirmed, but that's at least the assumption. We saw what that Buffalo defense was able to do to these guys, and they limited, Walker on the ground as well last week. So, I do not mind the shot on the Rams as well.
Yeah, you can definitely do that when you get to the lower guys. Personally, I think my favorite one, even though Cincinnati's defense sucks, they're playing Vegas that. I kind of want to go that one too. So if you can't get the other ones, that's a good one. Let's go to this one. Traded Kelsey and Diontae Johnson for Devontae Smith. Yeah.
Sure.
What sucks was Kelsey is Kelsey's really good again. And this is he finally got some touchdowns, which was the difference in this last week. He was not getting touchdowns that happened. So you're fine. It does suck though, because you traded 2 guys down low and that their value is much higher than what it was a couple weeks ago. It just kind of happens. You'll be fine though. You got Devontae Smith. He's a good NFL wide receiver. He's much more consistent than Diontae. Like, it just hopefully he had a good tight end is all I'll say. If he had a good tight end, then fine.
Jacksonville, Dallas, Washington, Rams over the next month for Devonta Smith. I think we just talked about the Browns having the worst fantasy schedule. I have to double check, but I think the Eagles have the best for wide receivers going forward. So yeah, all aboard. Let's go.
It's really
hope you have a good tight end option though.
Yes. Yeah, that Eagles passing unit looks fantastic, and Dallas Goedert is coming back, adding another weapon. So good luck. That team looks like it's rolling. They just destroyed Cincinnati. So that was like the best. That's the best I've ever seen Jalen Hurts look. He looked incredible in that game. Trade Bigsby and Addison for Tyrone Tracy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine doing this deal. That my like pushback is Addison. I don't really want to go with Addison on top, but like you kind of have to do it because Bigsby, like he's very game script dependent, and I don't expect the Jaguars to be winning a lot of games. He needs to fall in the end zone. That's the thing. Yeah. So yeah, fine. I'm fine taking the upside shot on Tracy, but be prepared. He's gonna sit. He's more than likely gonna miss this week because of that concussion. So don't expect him to play week 9. But hey, you know who he has week 10? Carolina. So fire him up in week 10. Yeah. It's gonna be glorious.
And I don't have it in front of me right now because I do not know how to work my phone all of a sudden. But the Jaguars' next 3 are horrific. Here we go. Philly, Minnesota, Detroit. They're all going to score on you. After the bye, it gets better. But the next month, and there's a bye after that. The next month, you can't use Bigsby. So I'm going to get Tracy.
And Peterson could also get fired. And then there goes Bigsby because the coaching staff has to like him. If Etienne's still in town, which I expect him to be.
Yeah,
they can go back to Etienne. Like, that's the thing. I think Bigsby has earned the rushing role, but coaches are very, like, we see with running backs. Like, if you look at the data between Singletary and Tracy, it's very similar, like the next level of data. But it's clearly Daboll thinks Tracy gives him an extra element, like an extra added dimension, and that's why he trusts him. Because running back is just about getting on the field. Like, that's all that really matters, right? Wide receivers is a different story, but yeah. I don't know who.
Wait, hang on. You skipped the next part of the question because it's an easy, absolutely smash. Yes, go get BTJ.
I'm Hulk smashing through my phone to get Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, I like Diontae Johnson. I am just a little bit worried. We already know what we're dealing with Brian Thomas Jr. Like, he's like the top 10 wide receiver.
He's the guy. He's the awesome guy there. Yeah, he's a more like he's just Diontae kind of has some issues. By the way, his trade value is abysmal. He's been in 2 trades this season where he's gone for next to nothing. So I don't know what it is about Diontae Johnson. NFL teams clearly do not value him the way fantasy managers do. So keep that in mind with your dynasty rankings with Diontae because he's probably going to move on this offseason, go to another team, and you have no idea where he's going to end up. But enjoy the wide receiver production for next month. Would you trade Charbonnet, Chase Brown, and Amari for Smitty, Tyrone Tracy? Yes. The Chase Brown stuff is good, but my whole thought process is I prefer Devonta Smith to Amari Cooper, and I prefer Tyrone Tracy to Chase Brown. Charbonnet, he's not like it's not happening for Charbonnet unless an injury happens to Kenneth Walker. Like that's the only way. Like he can get some, and the Seahawks are never run in a situation where they're going to be in these like winning by a lot where he gets on the field. So it's kind of just. Yeah. Nothing to add to that, but if you appreciate the discussion, we appreciate you seeing some familiar names, but also some new names. So please like and subscribe this. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're all over the place. And just, we appreciate these conversations. We're live 4 times a week now, especially Saturdays and Sundays, helping you set your lineups and answering more trade questions like this. So again, please like and subscribe. We appreciate it. And we love just talking ball.
Exactly what this guy just said. All of that. Yeah. The more like we very much appreciate all the support, love we get from you guys because we are happy to extend it back to y'all. So like that's what we do this for. Scott, yes, Cade Otton. He might be pushing tight end 1 this week because the Chiefs suck against tight ends. I'm not gonna put him that high, but he's top 4 tight end for me this week. Like he was at 30% first read target share like in the game last week. Clearly the focal point of that passing attack until Mike Evans comes back. So until he comes back, man, he's like a top 6 tight end. It's crazy.
Monster.
It's no wow. Argument. If I would have catch myself saying that back in August, I would have slapped myself. I'd be like, "What are you talking about? It's Cade Otton. Get out of here!" But that shows you how much randomness there's in fantasy football, man. Injuries, things change.
This is the question.
1,000%. So they have a bye this week. CMC is on track to come back week 10. If not, they also have a guy named Isaac Grendo who could still play. So
Jordan's good.
Yeah. So Tyrone trade like. I put a tweet out on Twitter where I gave my salute to Jordan Mason for him getting us to this point in the season. Because if you picked him up at the beginning of the year, you got him for free. He really did his thing. The last month was not good. Like, it was very up and down. But he was a great pickup. And, yes, Tyrone Tracy is the guy that's going to carry you throughout the rest of the season. So if you can pivot from Mason to Tyrone Tracy, you go from one league winning back to another league winning back. So go get Tyrone Tracy. Yes.
Tracy has difficult matchups, but in week 10, he's got Carolina, crush. In week 13, he's got Dallas, crush. In week 17, your fantasy championship, he's got Indy. He's a nice piece to spot start and flex, but there's 3 matchups where you're absolutely plugging him in and expecting RB1 production. And for championship week, if you're a contender, go get Tracy right now.
Yeah, and like he just had a horrible matchup against the Steelers, and he was the first guy to go past 88 rushing yards against them. He basically doubled that. The teams were averaging less than 4 yards a carry. He was over 7. Like, dude, Tracy's dope.
Twice this season, Tyrone Tracy. Twice this season. One was against Seattle, but one was last week against Pittsburgh. Over 7 yards a carry on 18 plus carries.
Dude,
so yeah, on a bad team, on like a very bad offense.
Volume. This is why I always thought it was a good move for them not to re-sign Saquon, because you're not winning anything with Saquon. Like, a running back can't put you over the top if you're a bad team. So yeah, this worked out. You go spend a day 3 pick, hope it works out running back. Like, perfect scenario for the Giants, even though it sucks. Like, everybody's pissed off. Yeah. He's a prodigal son returning. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, last one we got here.
This is mine.
Target with Cedric Tillman. Sell high candidates. You want to get guys that have struggled. Let me see if I can find the list. Like, I want to say Tank Dell. I really do, but I'm not going to. It's real tempting though. I'm like, man, I want him.
I wrote this up. Like, you could get like a James. You could target like a James Conner. Look, these are deals where you might need to provide a plus, right? But Cedric Tillman is so high to some right now who are losing their minds over the fact that Jameis Williams, the hell am I talking about? Jameis Winston is just like the mad bomber out there, and we know he's going to sling it. But yeah, the Browns' schedule against defenses is the worst in the NFL going forward from here, right? There's going to be boom bust games here, but I'm selling Cedric Tillman. I'm looking for guys who have struggled the last couple of weeks. James Conner is one of those names. Tony Pollard is one of those names. These are guys with good schedules coming up that I think you're going to be able to flex well over Cedric Tillman in future weeks. I want to make sure that I go out and get, if I want a wide receiver, Tank Dell, sure. There's another struggling guy who I'm all aboard. So why not? But Cedric Tillman, sell him for whatever you can get.
Yeah, like target guys that are injured right now, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, guys that are struggling, Jayden Reed at wide receiver. You want guys that, because like if you have Cedric Tillman, I don't really think you're fully counting on him unless you're a team that has struggled, because if you're a good team, you don't really need him, right? So you kind of move him to teams that are need for production now, and that teams that have an injured guy, like sell him in a package deal to go get Nico Collins, like do that type of deal, right? Like go get a high end asset, add plus, like do stuff like that. Because I don't really want to swap him for similar production. I want to use him to like boost in value. Like that's how you win fantasy. So if you can do that, do that. Hey, and Steven, I do this all the time, so don't worry. You're not the only one. I have poor grammar. My spelling's trash half the time. Do not worry about it. My friend.
It's true. It's true. It is. He's right.
We both prefer Ladd to Tillman. And Jeremy loves Mostert. Like Jeremy's our Mostert guy. Mostert's definitely worth picking up. I will say, like, he hasn't been super efficient, but like I don't care. He's getting volume. As long as you're getting volume in his offense, like looking good. Offense looks back. So yeah, I think Mostert can be an RB2 for you. More like RB3, but like RB2 with the upside. Like the way I look at Mostert.
I think what we're seeing is 10 touches in the running game for him per game now with everybody healthy.
Yeah.
And that's fine because he can get there and get you 2 touchdowns like he did last week. He can also rip one off. I know he hasn't really done it this season, but we know he still has that in his bag. He's not completely cooked. And with Etienne, looking so good and being so great, excellent. But with Jalen Wright looking so good and being so great, excellent. But Mostert is the guy that they trust in those situations. So when the game is close, when this team wants to win, when they need to pound it in its tackles, and when they get on that goal line, it's Raheem Mostert. So I'm definitely picking him up. He's a flex play in good matchups. And you know what? They played Buffalo this week. Buffalo has been horrendous against the run, except for last week somehow. So yeah, I'm going Raheem Mostert this week. I'm flexing his ass.
We're throwing that Seahawks game away. Like I want to see it more from Buffalo before because their weakness is the spine, the middle of the defense. That's where their weakness is defensively.
Yep.
So Miami should be able to absolutely gash them with Etienne. If like
Totally agree.
the only thing that worries about Mostert is if he loses that goal line, though. I don't think he is going to. But if he loses the goal line usage, it hurts him a lot. So he desperately needs it, right? But I think he'll be fine for you. It's just like he's more of a floor play than a ceiling play like he was last year because, it's really hard to count on 20 touchdowns from any running back. Like that's just variance is what it is. But it's a really good offense now with Tua. Like he'll be fine. It's what it is. All right, let's kind of power through some of these waiver wire ads since that's what the show's about.
Hey,
right,
now we're in.
so
Let's get to the waiver wire.
Running back is not great. I will just say this right now. If you're at this point in the season with running back, it is bad. But here is what I have if I can freaking find the running backs. Deep league options, we just talked about him, Jalen Wright. What I like about Jalen Wright is 18% roster on Sleeper. So this is like really like you're down, like you desperately need people.
Yep.
There's two ways for him to get on the field. It's an injury to Etienne or an injury to Mostert. It's not just one player because they feature both of those backs. So that's how he gets on the field. And we've seen it. He's an explosive monster who could look good in this offense. Because you're not getting guys that are going to be productive for you this low in deep leagues. Like you just need guys with a pathway to success. And I think Wright has shown that, and he has it. It's the Tua offense, really good. So he's going to be very cheap in a lot of leagues. I think you can get him. I really like him. A couple other guys in this range: Blake Corum, Isaac Guerrero, Khalil Herbert, Kamani Vidal. It's all a similar process where it's like if they get on the field. Well, I'll say the Khalil Herbert is in case he gets traded because we're talking about trade candidates. That one's in there because he's at like 6%. But those guys are all kind of like handcuff bets. And Guerrero is just in case both of the running backs in San Francisco are out. Like that's the whole issue if he gets on the field. Because we've seen it, man. Another explosive monster.
Are you doing Jaleel McLaughlin?
If I need production this week, I just don't think there's going to be much production. So I'm trying to avoid Jaleel McLaughlin. Like I just
agree.
That was they just played freaking Carolina. Like you know what I'm saying? And he got the touchdown. Yeah. So I'm not really targeting him.
Kendre Miller.
Well, he also got injured last week, so I don't know what's going on with Kendre Miller. He got injured in that game, so we'll see.
Hammy.
Yeah. No thanks. It's just the Saints, man. I don't want those Saints.
Yeah. Ooh, breaking news.
Ooh, what you got?
Velus Jones Jr. to the Jaguars.
Oh, special teams. Woo! They really need that. I don't even understand that trade. Like, didn't they have some good special teamers? Like maybe they didn't work out. That's got to be for Peanuts.
Yeah, I think he was cut.
Okay, it picked up. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he was still on the Bears. I don't know. All right, we're gonna move up to medium league running backs. I know Pittsburgh's on a bye week, but Jalen Wright is a really good stash right now because he has a role, and their schedule gets a lot more difficult. The next 2 weeks, they're playing Kansas City and Baltimore. Najee's not going off in those games. They're more than likely going to be trailing in those matchups, which means Jalen Ward gets on the field. So Jalen Ward's one of the few standalone like guys that you can play as a flex, and he also has pathways to production more. So I like Jalen Ward. Other guys in this range: Tyler Algier, Braylon Allen, Justice Hill, Ray Davis. Is there anyone in particular that stands up to you, Jeremy?
Ray Davis is interesting. We see James Cook absolutely going off. Ray Davis still has a role. If James Cook goes down, Ray Davis goes nuclear. Ty Johnson has been on the field. He'll have some passing game work in the event that James Cook goes down. But yeah, it's Ray Davis. So that's the guy I want. Algier, he's good. He's a volume play. So Matt, give me Ray Davis. Give me the upside.
Yeah, right. Like they're all kind of dependent on an injury. And Algier is the best targeter, so that kind of worries me a little bit, like how that would go. But yeah, if Bijan goes down or if like Breece Hall goes down, these guys are walking into a really good situation. So if you get either one of them, like I think that's a really good bet. Obviously, the top guy who we've been talking about like all for months is Tyrone Tracy. He's still for some reason only 64% rostered. I don't know what Sleeper's doing. Like, why is this guy not in 90% of leagues? But anyway, 64% roster, dominated 81% of touches last week. Looked fantastic. Really relegated Singletary to just a backup role. Now that Singletary's healthy, did not matter. The other guys, Jonathan Brooks, taking a shot on him.
Tyrone Tracy may not play this week. I just want to point that out.
Yes.
He's concussed. He's in the protocol. So just be careful and know that before you pick him up. But talk about your boy, Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, I love Jonathan Brooks. I know the stuff in Carolina is really bad right now. Like, it is just about as bad as it can get. They need pieces like when Chuba. The thing about Chuba is he's not really a great pass catcher. He's been a good runner, but he's not good. Brooks is just a much better overall, like, complete running back. So I know they're slowly wrapping him up. The one concerning thing with Brooks is why he's not the priority that he was before, is because Canales has said, like, they asked him if he might not play this year, and he said, yeah, it might. So you have to know that going in with Brooks, like, potentially they might just shut him down because the season's lost for them, and they don't want to get him injured or anything like that. So you do that. The one guy, if you need production this week, like Alexander Madison, has a really good role on a bad team. He's getting touches. And as long as you're getting touches, you can be playing. Scott, I saw your question on Jalen Coker. We're going to get to wide receivers in a minute. And yes, we'll be talking about Jalen Coker as a pickup in deeper leagues. But yeah, like I like all of these guys in this range. Obviously, they're more than likely already gone in your leagues. But if they're available, pick them all up. And Rico Dowdle's last guy, 73%. Like, Dell's starting running back. Like, I get it. It's awful, but he's running back. So yeah.
What I will say about Jonathan Brooks, I said it a few weeks ago, I'm standing by it. Trade Jonathan Brooks on your redraft teams if you've been stashing him this long. I know you've been stashing him. He's either been in the back of your bench or your IR. Trade him for production that you're going to have. You know where you stand right now. Let somebody else deal with whatever happens on a terrible team with a guy who's coming back from a devastating injury that was a year long, with a rookie who we don't know exactly how he's going to perform or like get up to speed to the game immediately. And the fact that Chuba, like you said, they said he's their guy. And they're not trading him at the deadline. They said that today. So all of these things are factors that make me a little bit less bullish on this season's prospects for Jonathan Brooks. So I'm trading him for a productive piece now, and I have him stashed on a few leagues.
Yeah, like why I said if you want production now with Alexander Madison, he's been 80+% rush share the last 2 weeks. He had 18% target share against the Chiefs. That's crazy usage. So if that sticks, looks like it does because they don't like Xavier White at all. You're getting a similar bet now Alexander Madison, and it's just a bad offense, a worse talent, but he's getting the volume. And if you're getting the volume, he's going to be playable for you because even running backs on bad teams could fall into the end zone weekly because it's really hard to shut out teams. Like it's really hard to shut them out. So if he's getting that usage, I think he's like the fine guy where if you need production now, you can play him. Sure. All right. Posting off of Scott's comment here, we're going to talk about wide receivers. And yes, Jalen Coker is the guy he mentioned. Jalen Coker is the first guy I want to talk about. 0% roster. He's available every freaking league on Sweeper. He has an 80 PFF like receiving grade. That is like the gold standard for rookie wide receivers to hit. It's the third highest. Only Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors are above him. He got 6 targets last week, had a touchdown, 78 yards. He looks like a guy who's coming on and looks like an NFL quality wide receiver. When a rookie shows that, we should invest in them, even if the situation's bad, because they're going to earn targets. He's going to be running routes. There's no competition. It's him and Leggett. And when Thielen comes back, Thielen can just go into the slot. They can play outside. Like, it's just, they're looking for pieces. And I think they might have found something with Jalen Coker. So he's free. We're talking about 0-25% leagues. He's dirt cheap. If you don't want to do Coker, you can do Elijah Moore, who's at 8%, who's over 20% target share the last 2 weeks. If you want to do the New England wide receivers, I know they're bad, but Jalen Polk was out last week. He's only 12%. You could do him. We talked about Noah Brown, who's at 1% with Houston, and then Parker Washington, who's also at 0% with Jacksonville. All these guys have the potential to pathways to being on the field, which is what we're looking for when we're in this 0-25% range, because it's a lot of bad situations going on right now.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you. I will go ahead and go with Coker over those options. Coker or Parker Washington is an interesting one, but when BTGA comes back, it's going to be all HIM in JAX. So I'll go with you. I'll go Coker, but then Parker Washington, give him a shot.
Yeah, I think Washington and Elijah Moore. Like Elijah Moore, they're going to throw a lot. So like he's got the pathway.
Sure.
I know it's been really up and down with him and like Judy and stuff, but like if you're pushing 20% target share on the Jameis Winston offense, like you could do worse than that.
What the hell is going on with Nick Chubb? What are we doing?
Well, like this gets into the guys coming back from ACLs, like the inefficiency in year one. Like this is the Nick Chubb stuff, right? Like he's getting volume. They clearly don't like any other running back on that team, so he's getting opportunity. But that explosive ability is going to come back next year. Like it's just going to be a ways for him. I'm even shocked he's on the field right now. Like I think that's a fucking accomplishment for Nick Chubb right now. So he's going to play, but it's similar to Kareem Hunt in Kansas City. It's going to be inefficient. I just don't expect him to score as much as Kansas City. So it's kind of just like
the Browns are ramping him up. He's had 2 yards per carry 2 weeks ago. He had 3.25 yards per carry last week. If they ramp him up, it's not really going to do anything for you. He's at best for you a desperation flex. So that's the scary part.
He's got the Chargers this week, a bye, and then he gets a little bit better with New Orleans, but Pittsburgh, Denver, Pittsburgh, Kansas City. That's a gauntlet for rushers. That is awful. Like it's Nick Chubb has to like be Nick Chubb that he was before. He's not that guy right now. So if you could sell Nick Chubb at all in redraft, I would. Like we talked about Brooks, I'll fucking sell him for anything. Sell him for anything. Like I just want out on Nick Chubb. I don't want to do a Nick Chubb thing right this year.
Sell in Dynasty, sell Nick Chubb and your early 4th for a late 3rd round pick.
Yeah. I would shoot for a little bit more, but yeah, like you gotta get something. I would be shocked if he gets 4 yards per carry this week. But yeah, I get what you're saying because he's ramping up and he's getting better. Yeah, like, I get the joke you're making. All right, Jeremy, who are you gonna drop? He's got to pick up lad. Does he drop Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, or Romeo Doubs?
Wow. This was not difficult a couple of weeks ago. It's difficult now. I am not going to drop Romeo Doubs. Jordan Love has been keying on him, and he has shown the ability to be a red zone target magnet. I know Tucker Kraft is there. I know it's super crowded with the wide receiver room. I'm holding on to Doubs and riding that out. But you have to drop one of these guys for lad for sure.
Mm-hmm. Does the injury to Jordan Love change your mind at all? Since Jordan Love probably gonna be out, so you're fine just like dealing with the Malik Willis
a couple of weeks, and Jordan Love will be back. I'm gonna go D-Hop. I trust Amari Cooper. Once he figures it out, he's gonna be around. I know Kansas City. I know all of this stuff. Patrick Mahomes. I think it's still the case. I have to look it up. I don't think he's thrown more than 1 touchdown in a game this season. Is that accurate?
He got 2 last week.
Last week. Okay, he got there, and none to DeAndre Hopkins. He was on the field. Yeah. So maybe D-Hop is opening up for everyone else. I'm gonna drop D-Hop. What are you doing?
I'll do Dobbs, but it's all similar bets here. Cooper has not looked good this year. DeAndre Hopkins has peripherals look good, but like that was week 1 with Kansas City. It's a slow ramp up. I expect him to have a better role. We'll see. Look, my whole issue with the Green Bay Packers offense is it's so up and down with these guys. I put out a tweet early in the offseason where I was like, Dobbs is a problem for Dontavian Wick's bags holders. And it's true. Like, he's on the field getting on the route, so he should do it. Like, I think he's their most consistent wide receiver on the outside. It's him and Jaden Reed. Those are the 2 guys you want, right? But I'll take the upside shot on Lad over all of these guys because I believe he can earn the most amount of targets of this group. Have the highest target share. I know they're not passing enough, but Justin Herbert has looked incredible the last 3 weeks. He looks really freaking good. So I'm gonna take Lad over all these guys. I would drop Dobbs, then I would drop Hopkins, then Cooper is how I would do it. But if you have a preference on any one of those guys, I don't mind dropping all 3 of them. So if you particularly prefer, go for it. But yeah, like D-Hop and Dobbs. Yeah, I think Cooper has the highest upside of this group. I will say that. So like that's why I kind of like. I'm like, all right. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, you could. Judy's just incredibly frustrating. I really don't want to do the Judy experience because another guy, not a freaking target earner. This is why Cedric Tillman gets the boost because he's shown a smaller sample size to be producer. Like this is a very similar bet with these guys. The upside is tantalizing, but neither one of them has really lived up to it. I think Watson can give you more touchdowns, but like you're gonna have a hard time starting Watson, man. Especially with the injury to Jordan Love. Like you're not gonna play him.
I think what's interesting is Christian Watson, even with injuries everywhere else, is not going to be a high volume target earner. It's possible that Jerry Jeudy could be a higher volume target earner if some of these other pieces in Cleveland go down. I hold Jeudy, but then I immediately scour the wire again to look for another name to pick up for Jeudy.
So. Yeah, it's kind of like a similar thing with these guys. Yeah. Yes, the Cleveland schedule is brutal. Like with the amount of times they're going to pass, I'm not as worried about it as I am as other teams because they're going to sling it a lot. They're going to pass enough where it's going to negate it. Like what's going to happen is you're going to get more interceptions from Jameis Winston. You can still get yards that way. So I think it's possible they can still survive these wide receivers. But yeah, it's going to be boom bust. Like it's not going to be dream matchups like we talked about.
My issue is this Browns defense is elite. They are proving it. They are elite kind of everywhere now. JOK, if he's not okay, that could be a problem. We'll see what I don't know what his injury was. If it's a season-ending one, or if it's because I know he was carted off, or if it was just a concussion or whatever. I know he went to the hospital. But in Cleveland, you got Pittsburgh twice, Denver, New Orleans, the Chargers. These are not teams that are phenomenal offensive teams that are putting up a ton of points, right? They're getting there in different ways. So I don't think they're going to throw it a lot because I don't think they have to because I don't think they're going to run as many plays.
Yeah, I just don't think they're going to run a lot because they know they can't run it very well.
Well, that is true.
And like some of these matchups, they're going to be behind and they are not afraid to slang it in those situations. So we could see high like pass rate with them. So yeah, I'm just a little bit lower. This one's from SC. Which side are you taking? Debo, Charbonnet, Pollard, and Leggett for BTJ and Jacobs? Yeah, I agree. SC. I want the big dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, look, Debo, I don't think is meh. Pollard, I think is a nice schedule, but yeah, go get your boy BTJ, and Jacob's going to eat this week and a couple other weeks the rest of the season.
Yeah, Debo, I like Debo a lot rest of the season. But I much prefer Jacobs to Pollard. A Titans offense, man, it's brutal, so it just sucks. Yep. But yeah, it's really close actually because I prefer Debo to BTJ. I'll just say that. I would rather have Debo. What Debo does when he's healthy, particularly with no longer Ayuk there. I like Pearsall, but you can do the one on this one. And you lost Diggs, and you have no other running backs. Oof. I mean, you got Najee. Najee's looking good. Well, I hope it holds great. Yeah, I just hope it holds for Najee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's speed this up. All right. So let's go through these wide receivers a little faster. I know we were kind of knocking down Cedric Tillman. I think he should be added everywhere. He's proving what he's doing. He's been a valuable wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 range. His air yards per share is 40%. That's crazy stuff that he's doing. He's been over 20%. Now he's gonna have to show it against some good defense. I understand that, but this is a bet we should be making to get him on your roster because people are because if he shows out this week, people are gonna be over the moon on him. People are gonna be oh my God, he's unstoppable, right? So I don't expect that to happen, but he's kind of in that wide receiver 30-ish range where you're making speculative bets on good things we've seen when we're talking about him, and we talk about Romeo Dobbs and all these guys, right? So it's kind of a similar thing. I'll say the other guys in this range, Rashad Bateman, who needs to fall down because they've got Diontae Johnson. I'm taking him off the list. Xavier Leggett, 37%. Dontavian Wicks at 34%. And Juju Smith-Schuster at 30%. Do you like any of those other guys over?
That's really interesting conversation between who to pick up between Tillman and Leggett. I think Leggett has really looked good in limited work. He's the clear number 1. He showed that he's able to earn targets from both Andy Dalton and Bryce Young at this point. I think that offense is bad. So that's really the issue there. But Leggett should be far and away the number 1 option and the only option. And like you mentioned earlier, the defense is so bad, they're going to be down. So I think I go Leggett over Tillman, especially because Tillman is going to be so expensive and Leggett is going to be probably half as expensive.
Yeah, I when we're talking about these guys, you should make speculative bids on the other guys too. They're just cheaper bids, right? If you want to spend all the money, if you still have a lot of fab, I'd be shocked at this point in the season. But if you do, you can do that. The shallow leagues, Keon Coleman. We talked about Keon Coleman. We both like Keon a lot. He's at 63%, second consecutive game over 70 receiving yards, touchdown, ridiculous, averaging 18 yards a catch, just absurd stuff. Leading all rookies in yak. It's really good. I like Ricky Pearsall at 55%, and Jalen McMillan at 60%. His peripherals were good. It did not work out, but it should work out later. Josh Downs, 63%. He's going to get boosted up because of that. And Jerry Jeudy, I know we talk about Jerry Jeudy. He's my least likely of this option, but I think you should at least pick him up, right? Are you taking Josh Downs over Keon Coleman, or are you going with Keon Coleman? Because I know you like Josh Downs.
No, I'll go Downs with the change to Joe Flacco. But I have one more name that's interesting for you, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, you picking him up?
Yeah, I'll take a stab on him. That's the Ryan picking up Jalen Coker. There's no competition. That injury seemed really severe, and he's old, so I think it's gonna take him a little bit longer. So if you pick him up and stash him on IR, sure. I haven't heard anything when he's coming back, so I don't know. But yeah, if you're in a league and he's available, take a stab, right? He's a targeter. It's not going to be downfield weapon, do all that stuff. It's going to be Zach Ertz tight end version. He's going to be 5 yards, fall down. Hey, if he's getting targets, I don't care. So it's kind of fine. He'd be on this list too. All right, let's go to tight ends since we're running out of time a little bit here. We're going to go to our deeper leagues. Taysom Hill, 21%. You know what you're getting down Taysom Hill.
Get him.
He gets the red zone usage. He gets carries. At this point in tight ends, I like him. The gritty king, Mike Gesicki. So when they lost T. Higgins, Gesicki kind of moved into the slot and played the big slot role. If they're without T. Higgins, Gesicki can be viable for you each and every week. He's at 12%. If T. Higgins comes back this week, I'm not as interested in Gesicki. Tyler Conklin at 20%. You're looking for a touchdown. Juwan Jennings, 6%, even though he's injured. And Will Dissly at 3%. Dissly's done it back-to-back weeks, 7 targets last week. I think he's fine. So is Taysom Hill the guy you're targeting?
Absolutely. Taysom Hill, he's boom bust, but tight end has been boom bust all season. We had a breakout last week with National Tight End Day. It's
Yes.
National Tight End Day is once a year, guys. So like, let's just remember that all these guys are going to regress. And we just talked about all of these receivers kind of moving teams, and that kind of puts a dent in what we're hoping for Dalton Kincaid, even though he scored a touchdown last week. What we're hoping for Mark Andrews, even though he's been scoring touchdowns at will. Travis Kelce, of course, when D-Hap comes on. So there's no guarantee that tight end is going to be this steady stream of elite producers. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get Taysom. He can be tight end 1 on any given week, throwing through the air, being a goal line back, whatever the hell they want to do with him weekly, catching touchdowns. I mean, yeah, Taysom.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. You see his name and you're like, you know what you're getting. Ride the variance, baby. Medium leagues between 26-50%. Zach Ertz. I made a post where I was talking about, much like Washington in the musical Hamilton, it's one last time. Like, we're doing this ride again. He's pushing. He will be 34 years old next month. He's an old man, but he's top 6 in targets, receptions, and yards. He's attached to Jaden Daniels. You know what you're getting. Don't overthink it. If you can get Zach Ertz, go fire him up. The other guys I like, Hunter Henry, 42%. Isaiah Likely, I do not like as much anymore because they just got Diontae Johnson. It's at 46%. Noah Fant at 25%, and Colby Parkins are at 24%. Are you riding with Ertz, or are you going like Henry or Fant or Likely?
I can't do it with Henry. It's too up and down for me. I know that's kind of the game that we play with Henry, but he needs to get in the end zone. Zach Ertz does not need to get in the end zone. 11 targets last week, 7 for 77. Look, it was his best output of the year, but he's put up 2 other games up north of 60 yards. If he does that and scores a touchdown, he's pushing top 3 on the week at tight end position. So I'm a big fan of Zach Ertz. He's going to give you that steady low end, or high end tight end 2 floor, and then could possibly give you a ceiling if he scores. So give me Ertz.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, these guys that are target runners or tight end, they just don't die. They just keep running targets till they run out of the league. In shallow leagues, there's really only one guy. It's Cade Otton. Somehow he's still under 79%. He's at 71%. 22% target share the last 2 weeks. Over 30% first read targets. Like, that's ridiculous stuff with Baker Mayfield. Mayfield clearly trusts him. He's the focal point of that passing attack. So Mike Evans gets back. It's like, it's Cade Otton. Like, you just go all money on. If you need a tight end, you're desperate, throw a bag at Cade Otton, dude. Like, I want Cade Otton everywhere. Like, he's awesome.
Look, it's Casey in San Francisco the next 2 weeks. Not ideal. And then I believe, but my sleeper is acting up, but I believe he may have a bye after that. I have to double check that in week 11 for the Bucs. But, it's not going to be tight end 5 and tight end 1 potentially in the next couple of weeks. You just got to keep riding it because the volume will be there, and it could be. I just don't think it's likely.
Yeah, like the weird thing is, like, Casey's actually pretty bad against tight ends. Like, I don't know why they're so bad against tight ends. They give up 13 points per game to tight ends. I don't know why that is, but they're second worst in the NFL. So, like, I think he can get points for you. But yeah, I think the overall, like, touchdown ability in the offense, that brings you down because their defense is really good. It's just a weird thing, and sometimes that's how it works out. But yeah, that's our waiver wire show. We're pushing freaking what? Hour, 2 hours?
Wait a minute. Yeah, but we're almost leaving. But can we talk about Bo Nix for a second?
Yes, sorry, we didn't do quarterbacks.
Bo Nix justice. Like, go get Bo Nix. Stop it with all this. There was a question about Bo Nix or Matthew Stafford. Yes, both. But like Bo Nix, he's a demon out there running the ball around. This is like early Patrick Mahomes when he was guaranteeing getting you 35 yards on the ground weekly. And just adding that to whatever he can do through the air. Now, I know his weapons are crap, but Sean Payton is letting him sling it out there. He's got a good-looking schedule, a fair amount of weeks, right? So it's Bo Nix for me.
Yeah, and like, I know people think Baltimore's pass defense is good. It's atrocious. They get atrocious. Cooked. There's only one quarterback has passed for less than 269 yards against them. It's Josh freaking Allen, because that game imploded for them. Outside of that, Gardner Minshew got them. All the quarterbacks have gotten them. So Bo Nix is going to get yards. He'll be able to scramble, do his thing. Yeah, Scott, like you're saying, they're really bad against tight ends. So I think it's a good tight end play. It's just most guys defensively. But yeah, Bo Nix is awesome. 35%. He's the middle guy. Like, I think you should target him this week specifically. Fire him up with confidence. He's going to be up and down outside of that because the matchups, and it's going to be matchup based. But this is a good matchup. I like him a lot. The other guys, Trevor Lawrence in this tier, Matthew Stafford in this tier, we talked about. Justin Herbert and Drake May coming off of a concussion. We don't know if he's coming back this week, but I think he's a good speculative add. If he is going to get cleared because he didn't get concussed last week, it's super up and down with concussions. We don't know. So if you're doing that, if you want to go to the deeper league options, Derek Carr is at like, was he 16%? He plays Carolina. That's who Bo Nix just torched. He's playing.
Yeah.
He's practicing. He's on track to play. Go get Derek Carr for like basically nothing because people do not like Derek Carr. I can't stand Derek Carr. He's gonna put up fantasy points. He had 5 touchdowns the first 2 weeks. He has 3 touchdowns since those first 2 weeks. It's not the touchdowns are coming, folks. They're coming this week. Carolina's worst in EPA per pass attempt. They can't generate pressure. They give up 71% completion rate. It's a really good matchup. And I will say, if you want rushing upside, Malik Willis, 0%, get him. Daniel Jones is another guy, 18%. Jameis Winston, 10%. It's a bad matchup for Jameis Winston, though. Gardner Minshew, Joe Flacco. I like Flacco. Flacco and Winston are similar bets if you want to sling the rock with those guys. Pick and choose those two guys. I like them both.
Go get Derek Carr and his number 1 wide receiver next week, Taysom Hill, off of waivers this week and profits. There's no one else there. There's Chris Olave and nobody else. Alvin Kamara. Everybody's down. Everybody's down.
Oh, yeah. And then we'll go to the final, the shallow leagues tier. I really like Kirk Cousins this week against the Cowboys defense. Cowboys defense is giving 20 points per game to the defense quarterbacks. 27th in EPA per pass. It's not been good for the Cowboys. They're also giving an ADOT of 9 yards per attempt. That's bottom 5 in the league. So they're getting hit deep. They're giving up completions. It's not good. They are pressuring at a decent rate, but Cousins under pressure is 62% completion rate. He's been really good under pressure this year. I think he's going to have a very good game against this Cowboys defense. If you don't want to do him, you could do Geno Smith this week against the Rams defense, but they did look really good last week. We'll see. Sam Darnold, 69%, and Tua Tagovailoa at 58%. I think they're all really good bets this week. That's why they're higher last week.
Yep. I have a team with Cousins and Darnold. I'm going to play Cousins over him, but I'm hoping I don't regret it. Darnold against Indy. So
yeah, it's a good matchup. Indy's defense somehow looked good against Houston. I don't know how they generated pressure, but hopefully that Vikings offense line keeps them upright. That's my worry with them. Right, that's what
Agree.
But yeah, I think we've gone too long on the show. We've gone too long, folks. Yes, it is late your time. It's literally your time.
10:30.
So this is our week 9 waiver wire must adds NFL news. We covered a lot of stuff. If you want to go back and watch all the fun chaos that the NFL had this week. But yes, for myself, for Jeremy, for SE, for Aaron, I was like, there's another guy missing name on this universe. If you're sticking with us this long, please like, subscribe, comment. It's the world to us. So we appreciate all of that. Yeah. But on that note, we're going to be doing rankings, I think, starting tomorrow, right? So yeah, we'll do rankings, release that. And then, we'll have a Thanksgiving fun episode. Or Thanksgiving. I'm done talking. It's Halloween week, whatever. Yeah. See you later, folks. We're just going to do it.